Hello. Is Nigel Farage going to be the next Prime Minister? Because an awful lot of people think he might be. And indeed, there are very good reasons to be concerned that he might be, and that Reform might form the next government. Now, this is all following the local elections which took place about 10 days ago, in which Reform gained 677 council seats, and at the same time they won the Runcorn by-election by just 6 votes. Now, I wanted to look at how the other parties did, and I wanted to consider how it is possible that Reform are considered even a vaguely possible government. Now, if you ignore, with all due respect, the Greens, because they're a tiny party, and I think they suffer from the disadvantage of having joint leaders, although I believe one of them's now resigning. But it's a party which is very much about the environment, and I'm not sure people would have a great deal of confidence that they would have expertise across a whole range of issues that governments have to deal with. So I think they're very not in the running. And so then it's the Liberals, and they have some 72 seats, and they seem to be a party that, whilst they're probably not going to form a government, they could well form a coalition in due course. They seem to me, and have always seemed to me, a party of people who probably think more than many politicians, and are pretty decent people. I think Ed Davies is really a nice guy, and although he performs all these silly stunts, falling in water and so on, it does get him publicity, because that's what it's all about these days. You've just got to get publicity. So I think they're going to do all right, and I think I wish them well. But then it's the last three, isn't it? It's the Conservatives, Labour Party, and the dreaded Reform. Now, as far as the Conservatives are concerned, I mean, they're just a complete and utter mess. I think they were so shocked by what happened in the last general election, and I think the madness of electing Badenoch as their leader, I mean, is just almost unbelievable, really. She's turned out to be even hopeless than most people thought. I think someone's had a word with her and said, look, it's not a terribly good policy to be extremely rude and aggressive to anybody who ever interviews you. So she nowadays is slightly more measured in her responses, but she's clueless. And if you see her in Prime Minister's Questions Time, I mean, Starmer, who's not he's not the brightest, not the smartest, he's not the quickest thinker, but I mean, he eats her every week, and she's absolutely hopeless. And not only that, I think support for her is divided in the party. I think, for example, we've got Honest Bob Jenrick hovering around all over the place, campaigning to take over as leader when she's got rid of. And so I think they're not going to make much. They're not going to make much progress, and I don't see people that ever are going to forgive them for what happened over the past 14 years very quickly. So I think they're not in the running. So then it comes down to the Labour Party and Reform. And I think the Labour Party are really, really disappointing. I know people get very upset whenever you criticise them in any way. If I criticise Starmer, people start unsubscribing and so on. But really, they're not doing that well. They're making so many mistakes. And I think there are things like, the Winter Fuel payment and the second child cap, and I think Starmer's attitude towards Israel. I think he should be much more forceful about it. He's kind of sitting on the fence, doesn't really want to talk about it if he can avoid it. And the reason which I will never ever be able to forgive him is the fact that 4 years ago he said that under his leadership we would never ever return to the EU, and that being his policy means that we are condemned to continuing decline. I'm going to make another video about the deals, all these amazing deals that are being done, and I'm going to point out in that how really these deals are tiny, and that with the Indian deal and with the American deal and with joining CPTPP altogether by 2040 are going to make up for about 10% of what we've lost by leaving the EU. Staying out of the EU and not being prepared to even consider freedom of movement or trying to rejoin the custom union and single market is just utterly stupid. And I think people, you see this, you see people on Question Time and so on. I mean, people are getting really angry. Sorry, excuse me. People are getting really angry. People are very, very annoyed that things are going so badly. And all we get is talk about renegotiating or trying to improve the deal we've got. It's just going to be tinkering, tiny little things he can do. It's so limited. And all the time we look around at what's going on in the world. We look at China, we look at America, we look at the EU, all big, powerful groups. And where are we? We're just on the outside. We're not really taking that seriously. And I think people are just really very, very disappointed with Starmer and the Labour Party, and I just don't see. I don't see he's going to pull that support back. I think it's going to go on leeching, and if people are dissatisfied, if they want to protest, well, where are they going to go? They're probably not going to go back to the Tories, so they're going to go to reform. And I'm pretty sure that all these these people who were elected last week, the 677 seats, an awful lot of people who would have voted for them will have voted in protest at Labour, in just the same way that Labour got such a huge landslide win at the last general election, because a lot of people were voting in protest to the Conservatives. They were so annoyed with the Conservatives and couldn't face any more of them. And as I say, I think there's a lot of anger about the present situation, that things are not getting better. And all we get from Starmer is things about change, and we're all going to change, and we're going for growth. But nobody's got any idea how we're going for growth. We're not getting the deals that are going to bring us growth. And where else is it coming from? The economy's in a terrible state, and what's happening in America is going to make things much worse, because we're bound to be badly affected. And so, as I say, it's not surprising that people are voting in protest at reform. So when you look at reform, it's a one-man band. It is Nigel Farage, and he's like Trump. He has to be the centre of attention, and he's a bit of a grifter. He likes making money. It's all about him. And then you get the likes of Tice, who's sort of like a butler, really. He's sort of standing just behind Farage, already waiting to do what he's told. And the other side, you've got Lee Anderson, the heavy, and that's they're the only three people anybody's ever heard of in the party. And then you're going to get all these people who fancy having a go, who like the idea of having a go at immigrants and stopping immigration, who will pile in and support the party. And what you get with Farage, that you get with Trump, is this blame the foreigners. And this is a thing about Farage I've talked about in the past, about he knows what everybody else is doing wrong. He knows it's everybody else's fault. And when you think about it, if it were not for him, we would never have left the EU. Absolutely no way whatsoever. He started the whole Brexit thing years and years ago, at a time when he was a member of the European Parliament, earning a very good salary, not attending very many meetings, hardly ever attending. He was involved in a scandal about questionable expenses, and he's always been on the make. And he's gone through one party after another, because all he really wants is to be the centre of attention. Farage wants to be like Trump. He wants everybody hovering around him, and he just hasn't got it. I think if he became Prime Minister, yeah, maybe he'll turn down the opportunity if it comes along. But I think if he became Prime Minister, I don't think he'd have a clue what to do. I don't think he'd want to be Prime Minister. He wouldn't want the responsibility. He'd be terrified, and he'd be bored. Right now he's the MP for Clacton. Does he ever go there? I remember when it first the subject of was he going to be doing any surgeries came up. He said no, he couldn't. It would be too dangerous. We've got 650 MPs, and every one of them does surgeries, including cabinet ministers. They all do surgeries. That's part of their job. But no, for him it's too dangerous. And the answer is he's not interested in Clacton, not the slightest bit interested in Clacton. And at the same time, he's doing all these side hustles. He's got his GB News or whatever it's called, and he's selling gold, and he's doing this and he's doing that, and he's offering birthday messages and so on. It's the same. It's just like Trump. And if he became Prime Minister, he'd be just on the make all the time. That's all he'd be interested in. There's so many similarities, as I say, between him and Trump. And this need to be the centre of attention and need for it all to be about him. And the sad thing is that there are millions of people who will listen to his rubbish. They'll listen to him telling them how he can make everything great again, like Trump, make America great again. And I think supporters of Farage are very much like the supporters of Trump, who you see being interviewed sometimes outside some of his meetings, and they're all wearing their stars and stripes hats and coats and waistcoats and all the rest of it, and they're carrying their flags and the MAGA everywhere, and they're asked what do they think about Trump, and he's wonderful, best thing that ever happened, fantastic president rather. And when the question about, well, what about all this? He was done for rape, and he was done these 34 felonies for fraud and so on, and all the things he's done wrong. Oh yeah, but I know, but he's going to make America great again. I'm with him. And so if you've got somebody who's as prominent, as charismatic as Trump, and the same with Farage, they're both charismatic, which is not necessarily a compliment. It's a question of describing the fact they've got powerful personalities. But if you get these powerful personalities repeating a simple message over and over and over again, and assuring people that they know the answers, that if only they can get elected, they'll put it all right. Look at Trump now. And just look at him. He got elected, but he kept telling people over and over and over again that he knew the answers, that he was going to make America great again. He's still saying it, for that matter. He's still saying he's the greatest president in history. But all this stuff, he was going to bring prices down, end the war in Ukraine the first day, and all this stuff, and it's just to get elected. And Farage would be just exactly the same. And so I think it's quite frightening. It's frightening that there isn't a strong enough opposition, to Farage and reform. The government is not strong enough. Hasn't got the support. Conservatives are a complete waste of time, and so we could sort of accidentally almost drift into ending up with reform in charge, and then it'll just be like Trump in America, it'll be just absolute chaos. So we'll see, but it's some time off yet. But I don't think anyone should rejoice about reform doing well, or the prospect of Farage becoming prime minister. It would be an absolute nightmare. Anyway, that's what I think about it. If you've been kind enough to watch this far, thank you very much indeed. If you haven't already subscribed, I'd appreciate it if you do so. And so until next time, thanks again, and bye for now.